Alright, we're going to cover common problems with spray guns and why they occur, as well as how you can resolve those issues. So we'll go ahead and get started. Common problems we're going to cover: air pattern differences and how the material spraying, dripping at the tip, the material fluttering when it's spraying, and other issues like material leaking where it shouldn't. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Today we're going to show you some of the common spray gun problems that people experience and what's the typical causes of that. The first one will be called what we call a fluttering or inconsistent fluid stream out of your spray gun. You'll see here that my fluid seems pulsing. It could be very significant like you see, or it could be a lesser version of that. So if that's what you're seeing, the most common cause for that is a fluid nozzle that's loose. We'll go ahead and show you that. So as you saw our fluid pattern pulsing, this is what our gun, underneath our gun, you can tell my nozzle is relatively loose. So that's what was causing my fluid to pulse like that. You can also feel it because the cup will feel as if air is being forced back into it, and that is actually occurring because the air is coming back through the fluid passage down into the cup. Under normal operating condition, when the gun's properly adjusted and the nozzle's tight, you won't notice the pulse in the pattern and you wouldn't notice the pulse in the cup. We'll show you how to tighten this nozzle so you can understand how to resolve that issue and give you how that works, and then go over some other issues. Alright, so as we saw, it was sputtering. The fix for that, as you can see here, my nozzle is too loose. So air is escaping through, instead of coming only to the air cap, it's coming back through the fluid and, outlet and down into my cup. And that's causing sputtering because it's not allowing for just fluid to be pulled, but also air and fluid together, causing spurts. So we'll want to tighten this. You can start by hand tightening it. You can see I'm in a vise. I've padded my handle so I don't ruin the handle of the gun while I'm doing this, but you actually need to get this very tight. When you're doing it, you want to keep your trigger pulled so that the needle is pulled away from the nozzle seat of the fluid nozzle. If you don't do that, it can wear the nozzle and needle out prematurely, but you actually need to get pretty tight with this. So I go till hand tight plus about a quarter turn beyond. Once I'm there, we'll go ahead and show you what this looks like now it's been fixed. Alright, so I went ahead and tightened down the fluid nozzle, and as you see, that's how your spray stream should look: consistent and steady. So by tightening down the fluid nozzle, the air is now separate completely from the fluid. No air is coming back down in my cup, and I get a good consistent stream. So we'll go ahead and show you another common issue, which is that your pattern isn't equal. As you'll notice here, if I'm using this, I have a pattern that looks the same on the top and bottom. So we'll go ahead and show you what an issue looks like when that isn't the case and why that's happening. Alright, so another common problem you can run into with your spray gun is an uneven or inconsistent spray pattern, or one that goes left and right. As you can see here, my pattern isn't as full as it was, and it's not straight. If that's occurring, that's usually due to either a plug in your air cap or your air cap's worn and needs replaced. One way to definitively tell if that's what's going on is to flip the air cap so that it faces the other direction. And if the issue is the same but in the other direction, then that would show you that it is something to do with your air cap. So I flipped my air cap. Now you can see my pattern is going left. So that would show me my cap is either worn on the left, on the side of which it's occurring, so in this case on the left, or is just has a plug in that area. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Alright, so we went ahead and fixed the cap. You can see my pattern is very full and consistent, and it's straight. So that, if you see inconsistency in your spray pattern, it's veering one side or another, you check your air cap. We'll show you the other common issues that can occur. If you see material leaking in this area here, right in front of me, then that would be a sign that your fluid packing, there are packings that sit behind and in front of this trigger, that keep the fluid from coming back through here this way. And if you see fluid leaking out of that area, then it's a sign that your packings have been worn there. Additionally, if you find air leaking out of this area, that's a sign that your packings need changed. Finally, if you can't adjust your pattern one way or another and you checked your air cap, then your air pattern adjustment knob or valve might be worn and need replaced. Sometimes there are rebuild kits for those, so you can check that. And then if you notice dripping out the tip, which we'll show you, that's typically a sign that your nozzle isn't tight or your nozzle or needle are worn, and we'll show you what that looks like so you have an understanding of that. Those are the common problems that you see with the spray gun. If your pattern's good and your material's flowing, you just aren't getting the results you want, then that would be a sign that you aren't properly setting the gun's air and fluid pressure to get good results, or your tip and cap aren't properly chosen for your material need. So look at how the gun's working. If you get a good pattern like this and it's consistent, then most likely it's something related to your settings. The only other thing that can contribute to a poor air pattern is a air cap being too big and your compressor too small, and that can cause starvation in your pattern. But we'll show you the dripping on the tip so you have an idea what that is. Another common issue is you might notice dripping at your tip after you're done spraying. So in this case, you'll see how my tip is dripping. That commonly is caused either by a fluid nozzle that isn't tight, or a fluid nozzle and needle are worn, or a spring that sits underneath this cap that is too loose or weak. The rebuild kits for a gun will fix any issue that involves fluid leaking from the front, air leaking from behind the trigger here, or from the springs being worn. Includes all the soft parts. So just remember, if your gun's leaking fluid behind the front of the nozzle, air from there, air under here, or your needle, those are commonly reasons for a repair kit. If it's dripping out the tip, it might be a bad spring in the back. It might be your fluid nozzle and needle are worn. You can easily tell that by feeling here. If you notice the needle is sticking out significantly, it could be a sign that the nozzles and needle have worn. And then if your air pattern isn't adjusting, it's either the cap having issues like we showed you, or your air pattern adjustment valve isn't working properly. We showed you how to diagnose that as well. Those are the common problems that you get with a standard spray gun. And we'll go ahead and replace this needle with a proper one so you can see that the dripping would stop. And that's the problems that you commonly have with a spray gun. Alright, so we replaced the needle. And as you see, after I'm done, there's no longer any dripping. The only other reason that the dripping might occur, your nozzle may also be loose, but that would be less likely. But so there you have it. Those are the common problems of spray guns and how you can fix them and resolve them, as well as diagnose them.